Have you needed to separate yourself from a person or a job or a relationship, but you don't know how? Well, there's the right way and the wrong way. Texting is the wrong way, but we're going to talk more about it in a couple minutes. Hello and welcome to Chick Chat and Chill. I am Laura Fickett, your co-host. I own Fickett Financial Education and Business Coaching, where I love to help people get out of the rut, stop living paycheck to paycheck, build businesses, whatever it is, whatever it takes to be wealthy. I want to help, and I do free consultations. So what are you waiting for? Just call me and we'll set one up and we'll chat and we'll figure it out. But before we get moving on the topic, let's introduce Antoinette.
Hello and welcome. So I'm Antoinette. I'm the owner of Pixel This, which is a full service design firm. So that we've basically designed everything from postcards to trucks and everything in between. So whatever you need, we're happy to help you. Just give us a call. So today's topic is, I think it's a good one because I think so many people delay, kind of breaking up or ending a relationship. I think they dread it more and therefore it drags on and on and on. And I definitely think there's a right way and a wrong way. And like you said, text is not the best. I think the only way you would ever do a text is like if it was a safety issue. You know what I mean?
Or if
like,
they're in jail or something. I
don't
know. But they probably don't have a phone.
Yeah. Now that you're up for a quadruple homicide, I'm thinking this Friday's off.
We're done. We're done. The thing is, I was thinking about this. And what happens in a breakup, whether it's a job or a relationship or anything, is that one person has now decided this is not working for me, but the other person isn't there yet. And that's where the conflict comes in, right? Because the other person hasn't had enough time to think about it, but you have been thinking about it for a while. And so what ends up happening is you go into this conflict and then you start to argue. But you have to think, like, what am I arguing for? I've already decided to leave the job, the relationship, the situation. Like, as the person that's leaving, you need to remain calm and respectful and not get into that argumentative state, because what are you fighting for? I mean, the time to fight is over.
Yeah. And I think the key is, like, whether it's a relationship or a job or whatever it is, you want to not burn bridges, whatever it is. I think the world is a lot smaller than we think. And there's always someone who knows somebody, so especially in a job situation, I mean, the last thing you want to do is burn bridges, or same thing in a relationship. Like, there's no reason to end with just nastiness. So I think it's one of those that I think some mistakes that people make, for example, if they decide to end it, the best thing to do is just pick a reason. Like, pick your main reason and make it more about you than them. Like,
it's not you, it's me.
No, but I think
that's a bad one.
No, but I think a lot of things too is when it's time to do the talk, they'll delay. And the best thing to do is when you decide to just go, look, we got to talk. Let them know, this isn't working for me. My morals are a different place than yours are, and whatever your reason is. And then you could go in and say something nice. But like, I think if you start with like, oh, you've been so great, but like they already know something's coming, and then it makes you sound really disingenuous if you start with that, or small talk, like just rip off the Band-Aid, and then you could say like the nice things. But I think a lot of people have the tendency that they'll try to cram everything and the kitchen sink as to the reasons why they're leaving, because what's going to happen is they're just going to pick apart the weakest argument.
Well, the thing is, though, you have to be sure that you want to leave
before
you go into this argument or conversation, or opportunity, whatever you want to call it. Because a lot of people, I don't think they're ready to leave, but then they have the leave conversation, and that's why the other person convinces them to stay. And maybe you should have just had a conversation as to why you're unhappy, like in your job. Like, if you really want to stay in your job, don't go and say, like, I'm leaving. Like, don't have the conversation. When you're having this conversation, it means you made the decision to go. So you can have, I'm not very happy right now. These things have happened. I'd like to see some change. that you can have those conversations. Those are difficult ones too, but don't have the I'm leaving conversation. Don't like bluff.
Yeah, that's
You know,
worse.
that's-
That's terrible. That's like the boy who cried wolf or whatever.
Yeah, it's horrible. And
Yeah.
it's harder in emotional type relationships because I think sometimes, I don't know about guys, but I think sometimes as a woman, you do sometimes start to second guess yourself.
Well, I think there's the other thing too is when you do break up with somebody and then it's, weeks go by or whatever, people have a tendency to kind of remember the good and not the bad. So if whatever, you're lonely and they call you trying to get back, all of a sudden, like you got to really stick to your guns, like understand why you're breaking up with them, write it down if you have to.
I was going to say, write it down
Yeah.
because then you can read it and be like,
'Cause
oh
you could-
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, because and then you could write it in, the tone of voice of when you're had enough rather than trying to do it 2 or 3 weeks later. But I think that's kind of the big thing. And so many people get back together and it's silly. It's like you're just, I don't know, or so many people just dread the conversation. And more so, I think in relationships versus job situations. But if the person's at all has any emotional IQ, they should know something's up. Like nothing really comes out of total left field. I mean, unless you found out something like horrendous, but usually if it's a breakdown in the relationship, a smart person could understand, like, we're not getting along as good, now as we were a year ago or 3 months ago or something like that.
Yeah, I think in work situations, rule of thumb, you got to give notice.
Yeah.
Like you can't just not show up.
Yeah.
Right. Like we work with a lot of other business owners, Antoinette and I, and some people like, yeah, they just didn't show up or they just didn't call or they just no. I mean, act how you want to act, like without anybody watching, like to be a good person about it. The person might say like, I don't need 2 weeks and they might let you go.
Yeah.
That happens a lot, like especially like in the financial field. When I left public accounting, they can't keep you because you have access to too much information. But you give the 2 weeks. Like
Yeah.
you
It's
say,
just
like
common courtesy.
yeah,
I mean, it's kind of like a United States thing, like give the 2 weeks.
give notice. And for some positions, even sometimes it's depending on how long you've been there and how easy it is to or hard to replace it. Some people even give a month.
Yeah.
Like
Especially if you're higher up.
Yeah, I want to make sure that the business, isn't hurt by my decision to depart. And so I'm giving my 2 weeks notice and I'll help with the transition or the training of a new person. Like,
Yeah.
be nice about it. I don't care if you absolutely hate them. Like, act how you want to act regardless of how anybody else acts, really. And do it in person. If you have to practice it at home and do it in person. You should have like a formal letter for some jobs. They want that on file and stuff like that. So I think it is I think the conversation can be a little bit easier in work if you take those certain steps. In relationships, people get at the second you say like, we need to talk, both of you are at the peak of emotion.
Yeah, they know. They know. But
we need to talk.
But with work, the other thing is if you decided to leave, don't tell your coworkers, the first person you tell is your boss. Like, that's just really bad to start, like, where because stuff goes around an office very quickly, especially something like that. So you want to tell your boss first. And the other thing is, if let's say you're interviewing and you found another job, wait till you have a signed agreement and an offer letter. Like so many people, like you have this interview, they're like, oh, great. And
It went well. I'm going to quit my job. And
yeah,
then
they're like, oh, wait, it's not now. It's, it doesn't start. Like, you want to make sure that you have a definite start date, something is signed before you give your notice.
And I think in breaking up when it comes to employment, do not list every single reason why you don't want to be there anymore. It's not like a relationship. It's like you don't want to burn the bridge. Although a friend of mine says, I love burning bridges because then I can rebuild them.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Okay. That's one way to look at
contractor.
Positive thinking there. But no, you don't want to like leave and be like, if people ask you why you left, well, because this and this and this and this and this, you just say like, we agreed to disagree on a lot of things. That's it. Just keep it simple that your morals or your values weren't lining up anymore, or it was no longer serving your future goal, or, that kind of stuff.
Just we're going in different directions. Like sometimes you meet somebody and you're both compatible, but over time, you literally drift apart. It's a real thing. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with either direction, but things that are, you know, more important to you now are less important to them and vice versa. So,
Yeah.
and I think it's just, I think it stings less if you just say, look, I'm going in this direction and I don't have room in my life for this relationship going forward. Like, this isn't serving me. Like, it's one of those, if you make it more about you, they get less defensive. And same thing with the work situation. You don't want to be like, you created a terrible atmosphere and I hated coming in every day. Just
You were giving me irritable bowel syndrome.
you know, but it's one of those, you just want to stick to it or just go, you moved on. And then you just want to say something nice too. But I enjoyed the time, get to know each other. Whatever,
Yeah, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Whatever. People expect those kind of statements anyway. I think in the relationship one, I mean, I haven't had to do this in a long time. My husband and I have been together 16 years. But I think the relationship one, like from the receiving end, I don't know what would soften the blow. Like, do you know what would soften the blow? Like,
I don't know. Like, I had this, the last guy that I broke with, I felt kind of bad because, like, I knew there was a time where I just knew, like, this isn't going anywhere. But then I felt terrible because it was like the next weekend was their birthday and we kind of had plans. And I'm like, you know, and then I kind of and then I should have just did it.
That's the main problem too, right? Is that a lot of times when you're in a relationship, you are planning the future and you have vacations planned or birthdays planned or tickets to something or events or
and
it's not really a great time.
No, and there's really no good time to do it. It's just you gotta, you know, pick one. And the other thing is, do it privately. The last thing you want to do is in a public place or in a situation that, you know, whatever, if they cry or there's some emotions, they're in a private environment.
Unless you think that they're going to be hostile.
Yeah.
Then do it in a restaurant or.
Yeah.
Then do it in a place where.
But
if they flip a table over, like.
But I just think it would be really awkward to go to a restaurant and you like sit down, you order, and you're like, oh, by the way, we need to talk. Let's break out. And then you got to.
Well, no, you would totally wait until they pay for the bill. Like, come on, Antoinette. I'm kidding. It's a joke.
No,
but financially that would be better. But
no, but it's true. It's like you definitely, you know, just be kind. I mean, this is somebody that at some point you had feelings for, or a job that you did like at some point. So just. You know,
I think I would appreciate truthfulness, right?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing is, do you really want somebody to be with you that doesn't want to be with you?
No.
You know, you don't, right? So if they say like, you know, it's not working out, like if they are truthful about it and they're like, I, you know, don't see a future with us. I want to do other things. Like be honest about exactly what you're feeling. And like Antoinette said, don't go back, you know, 1,000 years to everything like, oh, you didn't take the trash out on February 11th. And like, it's really pissed me off.
No, I mean, you're better off like one or two tops. I wouldn't start a whole laundry list. And like I said, I just.
Have you had guys cry?
I've had, yeah.
What do you do when they cry?
I don't know. They just get up. I feel bad. I mean, but I don't know, because I found guys go through like a whole series of emotions.
Quickly.
Like, yes.
They go through them so quickly.
Yeah, like I think for a female, if she's upset, she'll probably like stay upset and then maybe think about it later. Well, guys go from like getting upset and crying and then anger and then they're trying to win you back and then it's like you
denial and like they go through so many.
Yeah, and then they're like trying to make it up and I'll do that, and it's terrible. It's just like, just quit while you're ahead.
So what's the right way to do it then?
No, I just, like I said, it's one of those that it's not going to be an easy conversation. And part of that is people don't want to hurt somebody's feelings or whatever. But in the end, you're not doing yourself or them any favors by, you know, like the birthday that I kind of ended up waiting till after the birthday. Then I did, and they're like, oh, so that was like a pity birthday, and it was so obvious you were like so not into this, and I was just like, oh,
there's no winning.
No, so it was hard.
I remember a friend of mine, she was having a hard time thinking about when to break up with somebody, and I said, like, he doesn't do it for you 100%, like not even 90%. You're at like 60%. But what's the problem? And I like to I like to really think about problems. The problem is she was at 60% with this person. And then if she broke up with them, then she was at 0%. She didn't have anybody in her life. And I think a lot of times you have to lose something to gain more in the future.
Yeah.
And that loss is something you have to recognize, because when the person comes at you like, oh no, come on, please, you really don't want to lose. Nobody wants to lose anything. And so it's hard to stay firm when you're going to be losing even 60% happiness. But then, you have no shot at 90 or 100% if you stay at 60%. That's what I tell people about like chiropractic care and care for your body and everything. You're probably walking around at 60%. If you don't fix stuff, like, do you want to be at 60% forever?
Now, the one thing that I will say is if you're in a relationship, end that relationship before getting something else. Unlike a job where you actually do want to, unless
get another job.
Yeah. Unless you want to like be a stay-at-home mom or retire or something like that, like then have something lined up. But in a relationship, that is the worst thing to do. Like, because there's so many people that are so scared to be alone. And I don't know, I kind of equate it to a lot of times people get into a relationship, like they're kind of floating around in the ocean and they'll like, oh, look at that ship. It's beautiful. Let me, hop on board with that. And then you don't know where the ship is heading. You have no idea. like, and then you're on board. Like, I don't want to be on this ship. Like, this is terrible. But you don't want to go back, jump into the ocean where you're just floating around all alone again. So then next thing you know, you see another ship and you're like, ah. And then you get in that, and then it's like this never ending thing,
And if you're Antoinette, it's probably a pirate ship.
Why is there a parrot on your shoulder?
It's true though. People, nobody wants to be alone. I don't think that's God's design for anybody, and it isn't God's design for people to just break up. There are some situations where you want to try and work on things and stay together. Like I said, if you're not 100% sure and you're having problems, then just bring up the problems. Don't bring up the breakup. Just bring up the problems and try to find solutions together. But
then too, like for the God aspect of it, like I was listening to this one sermon and I thought it was so good, but they're saying like there's a lot of things where God maybe didn't join you with this person. You know what I mean? Not all things are joined or blessed by God. And you have to say, like, is this person in conflict with my purpose and plan that God chose for me? If they are, they're not meant to be in your life.
I do think some of my exes were chosen by Satan.
Could be.
And all the women said amen.
Yes. No, but it is one of those. Like, you got to be realistic of not every relationship is worth saving.
And not everybody's meant to be in your life forever.
No. And some people, like, there's some great relationships that I had, and I could tell in retrospect, like, they were there for a reason. I learned something from it, or because of that, maybe I met a different person through them, or it exposed me to a hobby or activity that I love now that I wouldn't have found without,
to grow.
Yeah, there's a reason for, people come in your life, and not every reason is for them to date you romantically, or
which
vice versa,
could be a whole nother topic of how do you know when?
That could be another topic.
Because I think that's the problem with a lot of people struggling with, especially like we were just chatting about it before we even started today about how there's not much left. Antoinette is single and in the middle of, the lifespan, and there's slim pickings is what we were talking about.
Well, it's you get all sorts of different types. Some better than worse. Yeah. But
how do people know? Like, I think deep down inside people do know, and they just want to avoid the conversation.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of, integrity to stand in front of somebody else and have a difficult conversation. But what's the alternative? If you don't have the difficult conversation, you stay, and usually it doesn't get better. It gets worse.
No.
Like I tell people about finances, you can bury your head in the sand like an ostrich all you want, but in my opinion, finances don't get better without change. They get worse.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. If you're on your way out the door, it's going to get worse. And then people say like, oh, well, I cheated, but it was over for years. Well, hello, then why didn't you have the conversation years ago?
Yeah.
Because you were too chicken. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I think honesty. And then when you've said what you said, I just had a conversation with somebody else about this. Then you just say, like, we can agree to disagree. Because if the person's coming at you and they're angry and they're like, but what about this? And I love you so much, or I miss you, or whatever, you can say like, I'm sorry, but it's not working. Like, don't fight. Don't fight back. Just let them vent.
I think the best thing...
in a healthy way, not disrespectful, like calm and respectful, but let them vent, let them get through it. Let them say what they need to say because, you want that person to have closure.
Yeah.
You don't want things left unsaid.
I think it's one of those, like, stick to your reason. And if you have to repeat it like 10, 12 times, like, just repeat it. That's better than trying to come up with all these different things.
And don't use AI. No.
Here's my chatbot to break No, but
don't use AI to help you say what you need to say.
The one thing that I found that guys do, which if you're a guy and you're listening, don't do this. So if somebody's breaking up with you, this is what I hear all the time. They're like, but you were, and they'll make it all about their feelings, but I've never felt like this about anybody, or you were the best this, or you whatever. And the whole point is, I don't care how you feel. I care how I feel. You know what I mean? So if you think I'm the love of your life, but I feel like crap with you or whatever, it's irrelevant what you're getting out of this.
Well, that's most situations. Most breakups are one person has come to the realization they don't want to be in it anymore, and the other person isn't there.
Yeah.
That's the crux. That's the problem.
No,
that's why it's such a difficult conversation. Like, I have met one couple, like, in my entire life that got divorced, and they both agreed that it was what they needed to do. They both got remarried, and the four of them hang out together. Like, one couple in my whole entire life that I have seen that happen, where they both came to the realization at the same exact time.
Yeah, that's
very rare.
Yeah, that normally doesn't.
That doesn't happen. So it's always going to be one-sided, where somebody feels they need to go and that somebody else wants to stay.
Yeah, and it's usually one of those, like Laura said, if it's a problem you're having, have the talk beforehand. Like, don't blindside them. So many people are like, I don't want to make waves. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to always be nagging, whatever. If it's something that is important to you, where you would leave a relationship for, have a conversation beforehand, before it gets to the point of like, oh my God, I can't take you anymore. But like, a lot of times I'll have certain things that are like musts in my relationship, and I'll just say like, look, this just isn't working for me. So
there are deal breakers.
Yeah, I'm just
if
saying.
They don't like puppies. If you don't like puppies, you don't have to adopt puppies, but if you don't like puppies,
if you kick puppies, then
or if animals growl at you every time we are out, it'd be a bad sign.
Yeah. But I've had that where I'm just like, there's this thing, and I'm just like, this isn't working for me. So I'm not telling you to change, like, you can't make anybody change, but I'm just going to say this isn't working for me. So if this is going to continue on this way, it's not a relationship that I could stay in. So at least give them a heads up, so that in 2 weeks when it's the same.
Oh, don't give them 2 weeks notice. That's only for work though. Like, I'm giving you 2 weeks notice that we're breaking up. We can still do all kinds of things in the next 2 weeks, but then, that would be so weird.
No, but the other thing that I think it's a good point.
I'll help you transition to your next girl. We'll pick her out together.
No, but one of the worst things to do is let's take a break. If you have no intention, like, don't, like.
Ross and Rachel got back together.
Yeah, and look at the fight. We were on a break.
If you know, you know.
No, but it's one of those that it's, there's some people that maybe you need a break. Maybe, who knows, maybe you went through something really traumatic. You had a family member die, and there's so much going on in your life where you literally just can't process things going on in the relationship right now. And you need to just like, look, I just need to do something on my own. Like, I get it. But if it's like things aren't working in a relationship, don't be like, let's take a break. Just leave.
Just be respectful. Yeah. Like, if you care about the person at all, then let them go.
Yeah.
Because there is somebody out there for them that will make them happy.
Yeah.
And it's not you.
Yeah. And
I mean, it
and
sucks.
honestly, and the right person that's going to make you happy isn't going to be looking to get with you while you're with somebody.
So how do people break up? What's your thoughts about like friendships? Because I think those can be really difficult. I moved, and geographically, when you separate yourself from people, you automatically lose friendships. It's just the way it is. But I think like if you look at a lot of books say you are the people that you surround yourself with. There's even this whole thing that I watched that there was like these 4 things like moving one way, and the fifth one was moving a different way, and then eventually it became in sync with the other 4. It's this, I mean, I forget who did it, some scientist. But like if you decide, you know what, this person is negative, they're always complaining, like they drag me down, but we've been friends since first grade or whatever. You don't have to keep those relationships close. You can keep them, but you don't have to keep them close. And then I find that sometimes when you say to somebody, you know what, I can't maintain this friendship with you anymore, they also get defensive and angry, and they say all kinds of nasty stuff. And I just don't fight back, because I'm like, I don't fight if there's nothing to fight for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like fighting back would mean I would want to maintain the relationship. If I've already decided that I don't, then there's no point in fighting back. They can say whatever they want. Like I can't change how they feel about the situation, but I can change how I react to the situation. Yeah. And I think it's really important to take accountability for how you react to situations.
Well, I think some key things too, like if you're like, I don't know if I should break up, whatever, just see how you're feeling. Like, do you feel unheard? Do you feel disrespected? Do you feel like your goals are put off, or you don't recognize the person you are anymore? Like these are all reasons to just escape.
Or if you're hanging out with somebody that's consistently doing bad things. Like,
yeah, that's another thing. Like their morals and values are different than No, that's a big
Antoinette's single, but if we go out and she knows I'm married and I have a family and whatever, and she's always trying to like, oh, we don't need to take an Uber, we could just hitchhike.
You wouldn't be gay.
I know you like to save money, Laura. We'll just hitchhike. It's free.
But yeah, you almost made me do that in Bahamas. Just saying.
You have credit cards. Oh man, you know what? You date Antoinette. Remember, she's got a mind like a steel trap. That one. That was like literally months ago that we almost left her.
When we brought it up not too long ago.
I know. She could have Ubered, just flying taxis.
Now she's just planning the next cruise where we actually do leave me behind. And I'm going to like chain myself to her like felt loop or something. I'm
going to get her a watch before we go. That's what's happening there. Watch that I preset timers on.
Like, why is this beeping?
Oh, gosh. When it beeps, just ask for help. Just go to the nearest police officer and be like, my phone's beeping. I'll have a message in there. Please return to Laura.
Well, the friends of...
But the point is, if a friend is doing things that you don't like, they're getting drunk all the time, they're hitchhiking, they're cheating, they're doing things that, you sometimes you just have to separate yourself.
Shoplifting. Or
whatever. Things that you just don't like.
Or even if, let's say...
Even if they're just cruel to people.
Oh, that's a big thing. Like you go out to dinner and they're like nasty to the waiter or waitress. And then it makes you feel bad as a person.
We got to wrap things up.
Yeah. So next week's is, I'm trying to think what we decided. So the things in life that are normal that really shouldn't be.
Oh, yeah.
There are so many things that people it seems like the status quo, but when you look at them, you're like, why?
I was literally just watching a show with my son's girlfriend, and I'm like, I like the show. I think it's funny. I think it's entertaining. But like now that I'm in my 40s and I'm a mom, I'm like, this is really like bad behavior. Like this is not training the youth good things.
Yeah.
It's entertaining.
It's not,
and that's how they're getting away with it. But I'm like, wow. And this is normal TV now.
Yeah.
There was an episode where a girl walked into a locker room and there's just all male genitalia on the screen. And I have big TV. Like, my husband's like, what are you watching?
Yeah. Why do you,
And it's just like, no, people just like
whatever. But it doesn't add to the story. And why is that like even part of the...
It's just, oh, God, the sex scenes. It's like
Yeah,
too much.
It used
It's
to be
become
like
normal.
they closed the door and we knew.
And you knew. Watch Pretty Woman. Like, you know what's going on. Use your imagination. Like, you don't need to see it. But now it's totally normal.
Yeah.
Everybody's just like, oh, yeah, that's whatever. It's fine. It's not fine.
And then
Let's talk about that next week.
Yeah. And so much more. Yeah. But until then, never stop laughing.
And never stop learning. We love seeing you. Come back next week.